Hi, everybody. I'm back. Spring break. It was fun. So now we're at chapter 5 in the Full of Beans story. And if you remember what happened last, we have Beans and his friends. They're all trying to figure out how to make some money. And they tried the gum making, and that didn't work. And then they tried doing the fruit. Well, fruit cups were doing pretty well until their friend ate all the fruit. So we're at Bum Deal. Even though Too Bad had eaten and thrown up some of our profits, we made enough money to buy us all a ticket to the pictures. Except for Too Bad, of course. We were using his share to buy popcorn. The sun was setting when Kermit and I went to meet the gang at Duval Street for the early show. We passed Jelly on his way home. Jelly was a wiry-looking older man with graying hair. "Hi, Jelly," Kermit greeted him. "You going home for supper?" Key West was so broke that they let the inmates go home for supper because it was cheaper. Jelly was in jail for passing bad bills. "You better believe it," he said. "We're going to pictures," Kermit said excitedly. "The new Shirley Temple movie." "Well, have fun, kids," he said with a wave. As we neared the movie theater, we saw a thick crowd forming outside Pepe's Cafe at Duval Street. "Look, Beans," Kermit said, pointing. "It's the lunatic." Sure enough, Mr. Stone was standing in the center of the throng with his underpants on. Right away, it was clear that he was no kind of salesman. Judging from the shouts, no one was buying whatever he was peddling. They were riled up. Do you remember those were really his Bermuda shorts? "Good people in Key West," Mr. Stone shouted. "This is a grave situation. Your city is bankrupt. Your streets are littered and filthy. Your homes are run down and your industry is gone. Something must be done." "Who made you boss?" someone hollered. A man next to me grumbled. "He's one of them Roosevelt New Dealers." "The governor has appointed me as administrator," Mr. Stone told the crowd. "The management of this town has been turned over to the federal government." Someone shouted, "Is that even legal?" Kermit turned to me. "I thought that he said the president sent him here." "What do you expect? He's a lunatic," I replied. "We must think of the future. We must clean up and rebuild," Mr. Stone said. "Build what? A factory?" a woman up front asked. "Not a factory," Mr. Stone said quickly. "You see, I have been carefully studying the options, and I believe we can turn Key West into a tourist resort." Stunned silence met his announcement, and then someone laughed. "A tourist resort?" a mustached man scoffed. He was our resident writer. Apparently, he was famous. I started to read one of his books, but I couldn't get past the second page. "Time is of the essence," Mr. Stone said. "The first season will start in December." "Who's going to pay for all this?" a man asked. Mr. Stone gave an awkward smile. "There are federal funds set aside to pay for supplies, but all the work must be done on a volunteer basis." "You mean you ain't going to pay us?" someone shouted. "You want us to work for free?" Then everyone was shouting and hollering. I just shook my head. This Stone fellow was worse than Winky, and that was saying something. We beat the rest of the fellows to the movie theater. I recognized the skinny man behind the ticket window. His real name was Mr. Pecan, but everyone called him Bring Back My Hammer. He got his nickname because someone was always borrowing his hammer and was always yelling at them to bring it back. "How's the new picture?" I asked him. "Better than most," he said. Kermit whispered to me, "Beans." "Is she as good as Baby Leroy?" I asked. "Better," he said. "This Shirley Temple kid's going to be a star." "Beans," Kermit hissed. I looked back at him in annoyance. "What's the matter with you?" He squirmed a little. "The thing is, Beans." Then he scratched his butt. I couldn't believe it. "Again?" His face crumpled in misery. "I got worms," he whispered. Just like that, my dreams of going to the picture disappeared in a ball of Bumstead's worm syrup. The ringing bell on the door of Gardner's Pharmacy sounded like money disappearing from my pocket. The store was opening into the early evening, like many places in town. "Well, hello there, Beans," Kermit, Mr. Gardner said. "What can I do for you?" I jerked my head at my brother. He's got the worms again. He gave Kermit an appraising look. I see, he said. I have just the thing. The pharmacist went into the back, returned with a little glass bottle, and he handed it to me. It was etched with the words, Bumstead's Worm Syrup. That's 20 cents, Beans, Mr. Gardner said. I could barely make myself hand over our picture money, but I did. I gotta turn my page here. Hope you feel better, Kermit, Mr. Gardner called after us. When we got back to the movie theater, Pork Chop and I were waiting for us. Where you been? Show's about to start, Pork Chop said. We ain't going in, I said. What? Why? He demanded. I thumped at Kermit. 'Cause we spent our money on his hiney. He's got the worms again. Ira exclaimed, Again? You're the wormiest kid I know in Key West, Kermit. Kermit's lips started to quiver and his eyes welled up with tears. Ah, don't go having kittens, Pork Chop said. Let's go home, I told my little brother. I dropped off Kermit and his bumsteads at the house and told Mom I was going to go for a walk. Truth was, I just wanted to get away from Kermit. I couldn't bear being around his wormy self after what just happened. Talk about a bum deal. Termite waddled after me as I walked down the dark lane. The electric company had turned off the street lamps long ago when the city couldn't pay the bills. Up the way, a bar where fishermen liked to hang out sat, and Key West was one thirsty town. Nothing could shut down the bars or the taverns. Not Prohibition, not even the Depression. Johnny Cakes was sitting by himself at a little table outside smoking a cigarette. Just the young man I wanted to see, he said, his face illuminated by candlelight. I was shocked. You're looking for me? Yes, he tilted his head. Are you interested in a job? Do I have to do anything dirty? I said suspiciously. That depends on what you consider dirty, he replied. Do I have to dig through garbage? He barked a laugh. No garbage. I promise you that. I lowered my voice. Is this something illegal? Johnny Cake stared at me, cooler than any other side of the pillow I've ever been on. I'm an upstanding businessman. I would never be involved in illegal enterprises. Then he blinked. Can I think about that? I asked. Johnny Cakes waved a hand. Thinking never helped anyone, kid. Just then I heard my name being called. Beans, got any more cans for me? I looked into the bar. Winky was sitting on a stool, a sloppy look on his face. He was probably drinking my milk can money. That kid's the best worker, Winky confided loudly to the man sitting next to him. He'll crawl through anything for me, and I do mean anything. Then he burst out laughing. It wasn't right. Sure, I'd always been a good boy, like Ma said, but I didn't want to be a good boy anymore. Good boys were suckers. They crawled through garbage. They got paid nickels instead of dimes, and they didn't even get any lousy ice cream. That was it. I wasn't going to be good anymore. From now on, I would be tough. I'd be hard. I'd never be winkied again. So I turned to Johnny Cakes. I'm done thinking, I told him. I want that job. Wonderful. Come by my office tomorrow. Be sure to bring the wagon. Can Kermit come too? I asked. I'm supposed to watch him during the day. Sure thing, he smirked. But leave that baby at home. So this began my life of crime. Oh, poor Beans. What's he gotten himself into now? Well, that's the end of chapter 5. Our next chapter is called The Criminal Life. Until then, you all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.